Oh, I love that song. You know what time it is? It's Gamble Guy Friday night, modified time for great reasons. Our first ever women's hockey match will be broadcast live on 12 Ounce Sports coming up here in 45 minutes, right after Philly Pete. So, if you haven't watched the Gamble Guy Friday night, what we do is we break down three bets, but my actual picks go on the members only section of our YouTube. So you can find that right there is our handle, youtube.com/@12OZ Sports. If you click join at the top, you'll have access to these picks. I'm 10-2 since last Friday. Philly Pete's always red hot. Greg puts up his daily fantasy. He's been doing a lot of heavy NBA daily fantasy when NFL isn't playing. So that's where you can find that. It's only $6 a month. You should recover that on day one. If you listen to us most of the time. I mean, we're 80% ish. Again, I'm 10-2 since last Friday. 3 parlays hit, all plus 300 or more. And, I'm going back to the well. I had a tough night. What night? I think last night when the Yankees. Yeah, a little bit of a tough night last night, but we're 10-2 since last Friday. And there you go. So again, I'm not going to give you my picks tonight. It is what it is. You have to be a member to hear the picks, but I'll break these down for you, get a little in-depth look at what's going on in the 3 games that I want to pick. I got 2 college football, and I got a ice hockey, my first ice hockey bet of the year. So I'm more of a football guy when it comes to the wagers, but sorry, I hear a lot of activity outside the studio. Nothing's going on. They're not coming after me. So that's what we do here on the show. If you want to support the network, MyBookie is the network sponsor. 12OZ Sports, all caps, no spaces, is the promo code for MyBookie. Deposit bonus up to $1,000. BetUS is also a sponsor. 12OZ is the promo on that one. They'll match your first deposit up to 1,500%, I believe. So I think is the current promo with our code. So, all right. The first game I was looking at is South Florida versus Florida Atlantic. That one kicks off at 7:30, less than 2 hours now. Let's deep dive into that. Again, I don't tell you my picks. I just kind of break down some things. So last 5, it looks like South Florida is reeling a little bit. Well, both teams are 2-3 in their last 5. Last week, South Florida beat UAB 35-25. Florida Atlantic lost to Texas San Antonio 38-24. And then the week before, Florida Atlantic's had a tough time in Texas this year because the week before, North Texas knocked them off 41-37. South Florida did break a 3-game losing streak. Memphis beat them 21-3, Tulane 45-10, Miami of Florida 50-15 before they bounced back against Alabama Birmingham last week. So there you go on the tail of the tape of the last 5. Offenses, pretty even. South Florida averages 25.1 a game, while Florida Atlantic averages 24.4. Passing, Florida Atlantic's pass for 1,268 yards versus 1,381 of South Florida. There's not a lot of difference between these teams, all right? South Florida, 4.1 yards per carry, 1,072 yards on the season. Florida Atlantic, 4.5 yards per carry, 1,179 yards passing for the season. Then we look into the yards per game. Again, dead heat. This is actually a pretty much a toss-up on this one. 371 yards per game for South Florida, 365 Florida Atlantic. So, I mean, you can't really find a whole lot of separation. I don't think they even have a common opponent. I tried to do that game there to no avail. And then yards per game given up on defense, that's a little bit of a disparity there. South Florida gives up about 50 yards more per game. But again, the defenses are very similar too. 30 points a game given up by South Florida, 28.1 Florida Atlantic. So pretty even in the numbers. So we can go into, I'm going to pull this up. Why does this site only want to do top 25? I want to do the games tonight. We got to go to public betting. There we go. That's what we needed right there. South Florida, Florida Atlantic. So it looks like the numbers are dropping on the public betting information. Looks like South Florida had a heavy advantage, and that trend's changing now. I'm going to pull it up. 57% of the bets on South Florida, 68% of the money. Wow. Usually those numbers run pretty even. So it looks like more bets are being placed on Florida Atlantic here in the last, in the 11th hour to bring them up to 43% of the bets. Not a lot of money being placed on them, 32% of the money. Florida Atlantic's 2-3 in their last 5 against the spread. South Florida's 3-2, so slightly better against the spread. Totals have gone over in 2 of South Florida's last 5 games. Meanwhile, the total's gone over in 3 of Florida Atlantic's last 5. So we don't really gain a lot of advantage there. I don't think there's any common opponents. So I want to look up. I want to see if there's any props that might tip us off. And now this opened at 2.5, and it moved to 4.5 in favor of South Florida. Over unders 48. So yeah, I mean, if you look at the money line, these are pretty even teams. Minus 135 for South Florida, plus 115 for Florida Atlantic. This is almost a toss-up. Doesn't look like rain. Florida Atlantic's got the home field advantage, almost 80 degrees. I mean, this is a pick 'em, folks. This is a pick 'em. If you want to, put some weight on, who's the home team, you could do that. You can't go common opponents. Florida Atlantic's had the higher scoring games lately. Maybe their offense is running a little better despite the losses. They've scored a little bit more points in the last 2 weeks than South Florida. But there you go. Classic toss-up. So good luck with that one. You have to be a member to know what I picked. I'm not going to tip you off because you have to be a member. It's only $6. Oh, we have Sebastian Powell says hello. Hello, Sebastian. My name's Gamble Guy, not Jeff. Got to keep it anonymous. Don't give out my government. All right, so that's the first one I'm going to pick for the members only. Pick number 2, I'm going to Boise State, San Diego State. I did Boise State last week too. It's a fun one to pick. Plus, they're playing these Thursday, Friday night games, and they're a highly ranked team. So that's always exciting. Let's pull it up here. Get off of that screen. Go to that screen. Of course, Boise State's got Jonty. He's trying to go for the Heisman. He's trying to break some rushing records. Pulling it up here. A little bit slow tonight. Here we go. Jonty, he's up to 1,376 yards rushing. Their last game, they beat UNLV, who was ranked by 5. San Diego State lost to Washington State 29-26. I also forgot to mention the computer model on 12-ounce sports predicted Florida Atlantic to win 45-17. Even though South Florida's favored, all the numbers show it's a pick 'em, it's a toss-up. Our computer model simulator seems to think Florida Atlantic's going to win by 28 points. So if you want if you trust the bots, if you trust the robots, that's what you would go for. So the reason that made me think of that is because I went to the computer here for Boise State. I mean, this is pretty lopsided on paper. I'll roll down to where I recorded for the members. I can't tell you what I took. So I can't even, I mean, I was in minus money in this game. But that doesn't tell you what I took. I took something alternate. The matchup predictor, other computer models, 95% in favor of Boise. So if you see where I'm going here, you might not be able to predict what I bet on the members only platform, but you can tell that this is kind of a one-sided affair. So if you want to make some money, you're going to have to do some prop or some alternative line or something like that. And the public agrees with me because, okay, scroll, figure out how to use a computer, you bum. Over 65% of the bets and money are on Boise State. Now, it doesn't really break down what they're betting on because it's a huge line. Huge. This is a huge line. Everyone's talking about it. Trust me. It opened at 24.5, and it stayed at 24.5. The over-under is 56. I mean, we're talking about somewhat of a miserable San Diego State team. They're scoring in the mid-20s pretty habitually. I mean, they lost to Central Michigan 22-21. They only scored 10 against Cal. They only beat Hawaii by 3. Again, Boise State only beat Hawaii by 21 last week. They beat Wyoming by 3, and then they lost by 3 last week. So San Diego State's been in close games, but they're not playing people to the caliber of Boise State. But could they hang around? Yeah, this could be a 14, 15-point game. It's going to really come down to, do you think Boise State can cover, is the real question on this one. Again, 2/3 of the money, the public money, is going on Boise State. So that was 2 of 3. I put in the YouTube event calendar that, at this point, we're going to move on to the NHL, but I have 2 very exciting college football matches tonight for our members only. I mentioned at the outset, this is my first ice hockey bet of the season. I kind of leave that up to Philly Pete on the members platform. But I love punishment. I went for another pretty much coin toss between the Islanders and the Sabres. They're both kind of at the bottom of the table. The spread opened up 1.5 goals and stayed there. Over unders 5.5. It's all in favor of the Buffalo Sabres. The thing about these teams, and I'll pull up the tail of the tape here, they're not very high scoring. So keep that in mind when you're making your wagers. If you're not a member yet, you should be a member. It's only $6 a month on the 12 Ounce Sports YouTube. Most of our YouTube page is free. The betting service is $6 a month. But again, I'll get back to this. A couple of glaring stats here between these teams. So if you like low scoring hockey, this might be your game to watch tonight. Averages, okay. Islanders, bottom of the league at 2.1 goals per game. Not much better as Buffalo, but they're about middle of the pack at 3.2 goals per game. But here's what caught my eye. These are 2 of the worst power play teams in the NHL. The Islanders are 12.9% success rate. The Sabres at 6.9% success rate. So not very good goal scoring teams here. And again, their record reflects that. So that's going to be the third bet I make for subscribers. Don't forget, go to youtube.com/@12OZ Sports to become a member of the Best Bets service. I'm 10-2 since last Friday. Philly Pete's always hot. He's the king of the ice. And then Greg's daily fantasy is helping people cash tickets left and right. So there you go. South Florida, Florida Atlantic, Boise State, San Diego State, Islanders, and Sabres are going to be my bets tonight. Now, I'm 10-2. Okay, I got to do the math. 28. I'm 28-5. There you go. 28-5 in October. But it doesn't mean I'm perfect. Doesn't mean I get everything right. So bet responsibly. Use my data on this show. When I post for the members only bets, I give them a little bit of background. So use my data, and maybe you'll catch me missing something and say, oh, I like that game, but I'm going to do the opposite of what the gamble guy says. Just be responsible, do your own research, and there you go. If you need any help with research, email us 12ozsports@gmail.com. That's it. Up next here at 6 p.m., Philly Pete. He's going to give you some more bets. We're pretty bet heavy on Friday nights. And then, relax. Don't worry about wagering. Tune in at 6:30, our first ever women's hockey game on 12 Ounce Sports. We've done plenty of men's hockey. Get our YouTube up on the big screen and enjoy this. Nazareth, our home team, taking on, I don't know how to say this name. Riviere, I think, is the team name. So there you go. First ever women's hockey on 12 Ounce Sports. That's going to do it. So sorry, just got excited, Sebastian. He got excited. All right. We're not going to hold it against you. It's not that big of a deal. It's just kind of a running joke on the network. But we're out. We got to go for Philly Pete's coming on live. I got to